Okay, this is video 2 concerning golden triads. So video 2, or the one I'm doing right now, is kind of hoping that you already know all of these by heart now. So you know that C, F, and G, that if you just plop down this kind of triad shape, you're good to go. You get a major chord, no sharps or flats or anything like that required. D, E, and A, they all need their sharp or their middle note to be sharp, otherwise they're minor. So that's all the minor versions, right? Then B is a weirdo. That needs two sharps there to be a major chord, okay? So we're gonna talk about how to convert these chords into other chords, and through some other theoretical knowledge you maybe already know, maybe we'll introduce some new concepts too. So I'm gonna erase this, because I'm counting on you knowing it already. But we're gonna kind of go through one family at a time. So if we start with the natural family, that would be C, sorry, fix that, C, then we have F and G. We know that we could build major chords out from here. And the notes of a C major chord would be C, E, and G. F major chord, we end up with F, A, C, then G, we end up with G, B, D. So the math on these is always gonna end up being a major third, which is skip 3 notes, then a minor third. It's a little hard to see in my writing, but that's a lowercase m, and we're gonna skip 2. So 3, then 2. That's true here as well. We skip 3, then 2, then we skip 3, then 2. So remember, a major chord's always gonna do that. We're gonna skip 3 notes, then 2 notes in between the notes we're playing. F does that as well. Skip 3 here, skip 2 there. G does it. Skip 3 there, 2 there. So we're talking about how major chords are gonna always follow this formula, 3 and 2. So if we flip this order 2 to 3, we get minor chords. So what we're gonna do for all of these is we're gonna drop the middle note. We're gonna flat it by a half step, and it's gonna change the order. Okay, so now I'm gonna make E flat, A flat, B flat. Now I get 2 and 3 for the rest of this, right? So I take my C major chord, I drop the middle note, I get C minor. That's good to know. F major, drop the middle note, I get F minor. G major, drop the middle note, I get G minor, all right? So that's part of why it's so important to remember that these ones are major on their own in the first place without doing anything, because then you know you drop the middle note and you're gonna get a minor chord, right? So let's see how this applies to some of the other ones. So let's go with our sharp family. So in the sharp family, we have D, E, and A. And to make these major, we need a D, F sharp, A, E, G sharp, B, and a C sharp, E. All right, so a D, F sharp, A, E, G sharp, B, A, C sharp, E. And since these are all major chords, we already know it's gonna be 3 and 2. We skip 3, then we skip 2. So between D and F sharp, we're skipping 3, then between F sharp and A, we're skipping 2, right? And that's true for all these. So we're saying for C, F, and G, cool friendly guys, that we had to flat our middle note. Well, that's also true for these ones. But since they're all sharp, when we flat our sharp note, it's gonna natural out, and we're just gonna end up with a normal note or a natural note. So just regular old F, G, and C. So now's the time for maybe to explain this too, but I often think of flat signs as a negative one and sharp signs as a positive one, okay? So when we had a neutral note, neutral could be thought of as 0. So when we turned our C, F, and G into minor chords, we're going 0 minus 1, which equals -1, which means we gotta have one flat in there, which would be our middle note. But in the case of these chords, these sharp signs are kind of like a positive one. But then I'm gonna subtract 1 with my flat, and then I just end up at 0. So kind of a weird conceptual way of thinking of this. Well, that's a long-winded way of saying that if we know D, E, and A need a sharp note in the middle, well, if we get rid of that sharp, we just end up with minor chords. So DFA is minor, EGB is minor, ACE is minor, right? So by remembering all these major chords, you get all your minor chords for free if you just kind of remember how that middle note moves. So the shell, your outer notes are always the same. It's what's going on with these that kind of changes things, right? So in this case, when I flatted them all, now we're in 2-3 territory for everything. And they're all minor chords because all minor chords go 2-3. Okay, let's run this through B then, because that's our last one. So B was in the double sharp family, which means we had to sharp our third and we have to sharp our fifth, because that's the only way we can get our 3-2 pattern, assuming B is our root note, right? We can't move our root note, otherwise it's not a B chord anymore now, is it? So we gotta have B as the root. So we get B, D sharp, F sharp. So this is where a lot of students kind of stumble on this a little bit. B is a weird one. So I say we need to turn this into a minor chord. We need to remember our shell is still staying the same. So F sharp is not going anywhere. We're not flatting F sharp, it needs to stay. We're just flatting D. So to get to B minor, this D gets naturaled out, but F sharp's gonna stay the same to get B minor, right? So B to F sharp has a really weird relationship, but that's something maybe we can cover in another video more, but I'll go over it real quick now. So the shell of a chord, so like say we have a C chord, our shell is the fifth, a perfect fifth. Twinkle, twinkle. If we count the notes in between, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a perfect fifth should have 6 notes in between. So this is just an interval, one note to the next. Chords are built on 2 intervals. So if we do the math here and we look from B to F, first of all, it sounds weird. If you know The Simpsons, it kind of sounds like that. The Simpsons. But if we do the math, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's only 5. We need 6 to have a perfect fifth, or the shell that we want, which is B to F sharp. It sounds more like that. Another way to see this is if I have a shell here, C to G, if I move both of these down a half step, I end up on B and F sharp. So if I'm trying to maintain that relationship, yeah, it ends up having to be F sharp. So you're going to play with this a little bit, but it's always about how many notes are we skipping in between our notes, right? Because that's what determines what a fourth or a fifth or like all these intervals are, and that's what determines what chords are ultimately. So yeah, long way of saying that B, D, F sharp is actually B minor. Don't mess with the F sharp. So if we drop it, then we get 2 and 2 again, which is B diminished, which again, if you know your chord families, that ends up being the 7th chord of C major, and the 7th chord in a major family is always diminished. So we'll go over this more in lessons as well, but that's a way of turning all these triads that you learned through golden triads from major to minor. So now you had 7 that you memorized for major, now you have 7 more for minor. What else can we do with this? We'll discover it in the 3rd video.